Just on the FMD, I think there's two costs. One, there's an opportunity cost, and the other, there's a real economic impact cost in real terms. Let's talk about the opportunity cost. We're currently unable to export beef to a variety of markets around the world. We have a free trade agreement with the European Union. We are unable to access the beef market in Europe because of our FMD status. China has suspended import of South African beef as a result of the FMD. So we have opportunity cost there that could be massive for our beef sector in South Africa, our red meat sector in South Africa, that we're not able to capitalize on. Then there is the existing cost of people who are unable to move their cattle to markets, who are unable to sell their cattle at a premium because the area that they're in is an FMD disease management area, that there's less of a price paid at an abattoir because you lose the fifth quarter. So all of these have an economic impact. And that is why we've taken the policy step as a department now to move towards a different way of fighting foot and mouth disease in South Africa. Because once we get FMD under control through a vaccination program, by vaccinating the national herd, we can then start to push it back into the endemic areas and have a strategy in place there where we'll be ultimately FMD free without vaccination. So this is a start of a journey towards becoming an FMD free country without vaccination. It's the same journey that counterparts in Brazil and other countries around the world have followed. And I think the time is now right for us to take this bold step now to move towards doing it, because once we get it right, I believe that the real opportunity in the red meat sector lies in our rural provinces. It lies with communities that have indigenous knowledge about raising of cattle and the like. And once we're able to create the demand for our beef product and our red meat product in other parts of the world, as I said, like we've seen with citrus, it has pulled a whole lot of smaller players through the value chain. As we've seen in our wool sector, pulled a whole lot of more small scale now into the value chain because we've created the demand for the product abroad. There currently is there is a demand for our beef and red meat, which is the finest in the world. But we do not have the ability, because of the international animal biosecurity rules, to be able to access some of our markets that should be really open for us, like Europe and others. So there's a huge opportunity cost there. DG, I don't know if you want to handle this one.
Yeah, on the issue around the Africa Continental Free Area, it's very important to note the following. African agribusiness is expected to reach $1 trillion by 2030. That's huge. And of that, it is also expected that you will still import almost $90 billion of food into Africa. For me, that presents a huge opportunity for South Africa in order to utilize the space that is being created for us to access the African market. And through the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan, we have got clear targets in terms of each and every commodity. Where do we want to reach, and how do we reach the different levels of export? And for me, the biggest push would be around the smallholder farmer, and how do we then integrate them into the value chain. If one looks at the participation of black farmers in the livestock sector at 34%, presents an opportunity to push it beyond 50%. Well, this is the treasure that black farmers will have, and how we will then move into that area. We would need then to ensure that there is proper financing in terms of engagement, there's proper advisories so that we know the knowledge, the skills and abilities of the people to deal with the issues that are there. And we have got to ensure that each and every time we push the issue around market access by the issues of biosecurity that we are currently having, so that we can have this industry moving. You have got areas that are moving quite well in terms of wool. We need to ensure that we safeguard and future-proof the industry, similar to what we are having in terms of biosecurity measures in the wool industry, push those areas. If you have got to look at horticulture, which is currently maybe the mainstay in terms of production, how do we ensure that because we don't have land that will be produced elsewhere. We have got to move into traditional areas. We have got to move into communal areas. We have got to expand in terms of water rights into those areas and expand irrigation. Because the National Development Plan is quite instructive that we have got to increase that by 500,000 on top of the 1,500 million that we had at that moment, 1.5 million that we had at that moment. Now, the 500,000 hectares would mean that we have got to firstly go into the communal areas, ensure that we expand irrigation, and ensure that smallholder farmers are at the center of that expansion.
Just on your third question, obviously the fragmentation in the agriculture sector is a cause for concern. There's nothing that I can do about it. I mean, I have to work with the stakeholders that as they form. Would I ever say that it is a lot easier and more agile if we're able to quite quickly as a department consult with one or two or fewer bodies when we want to roll out things in the sector. And that's why FASA is such an important stakeholder for us. We regard them as one of our primary stakeholders. And through the president, we've said we want to have partnerships for growth. But obviously, being able to deal with fewer organizations means that we can move much quicker in a more agile way. And I think that unity or otherwise within the sector is something the sector is going to have to grapple with as they go forward. But from the ministry side, the quicker I can consult with people, the better it is. If I have to go through 150 different organizations before I can get to a point where I can make a decision or announcement, it obviously does slow things down. And agriculture moves quickly, technology moves quickly. And it does mean that being able to pick up the phone and call a meeting at the office with the FASA, Agri SA, and a variety of others does mean we can move much quicker.